Hi, this is Frank with a frank opinion. You can't tell me that if it had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesters yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very differently than the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol, Biden said in Wilmington, before beginning to hammer his fist against the lectern. We all know that is true, and it is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. The American people saw it in plain view. These are Joe Biden's words a couple of days ago. So he understands to his core the problem that the United States has had for centuries, racism. And unless it is dealt with in the short term, this country will not survive in the long term. In 2015, after the murder of Eric Garner, I wrote a plan to eliminate racism in our country. I said that protests, demonstrations, national conversations were all well and good, but they would not end racism or at least measurably reduce it. I said that it might and would take a plan. And I offered a 10-point plan, and in addition, one element that I think is absolutely crucial. I'd like to read that plan to you, and I hope it doesn't take long, and I hope you will bear with me. First, eradicating racism must be a national goal, enunciated unequivocally by a future president. Joe Biden, in my mind, is that future president. A cabinet-level post with unambiguous support of the president must be established to coordinate as well as recommend policies and programs across federal agencies and departments to achieve this national goal. 3. A major public information campaign aimed at educating Americans about the existence of this national goal would be established to motivate their acceptance and personal support for it. The campaign would be provided with resources commensurate with its mission and sustained for the time it takes to achieve major results. 4. Critical. Religious leaders of all faiths, representing all denominations and all of our nation's regions, would be called upon to denounce racism as antithetical to their respective creeds and vow to provide their personal leadership to this national goal, even at the risk of losing a number of their parishioners. 5. The horrific history of slavery, institutional racism, and race-based discrimination, and their devastating social and economic consequences must be taught clearly and courageously using every venue possible. Especially important would be making Americans aware of the divergence between the American profession of liberty and equality and racism. 6. Programs, both voluntary as well as supported by governmental resources, would be developed that provide opportunities for interracial activity and life. 7. Corporate America, including major media, would be challenged and then enlisted to become part of the solution by reviewing and publicizing their hiring, promotional, pay, advertising, location, and other policies, and taking primary responsibility for removing those that are discriminatory. 8. Institutions at all levels, but especially at the local community level, would be encouraged to be an essential part of accomplishing this national goal by developing programs that bring racial groups together to work side by side as equals on community-wide projects. 9. Government agencies would vigorously enforce civil rights regulations and prosecute civil rights violations, but just as importantly, be a source of information for notable efforts and achievements in reducing the incidences and effects of racism, as well as for their promulgation. 10. Variables to periodically measure the success of achieving this national goal will be developed, assessed, and results made public annually. The additional one that I absolutely think is key is the following. The plan must be accompanied by a 10-year Marshall Plan to eradicate the conditions which have unceasingly engulfed segregated communities of color, Black, Latino, Native American, and Alaskan Native, and which have perpetuated the circumstances that allow racist stereotypes and tendencies to flourish. In 2015, I sent this initially to Congressman John Lewis. Hearing no reply or acknowledgement of receipt, not even a phone call, an email, a text message, I sent it to all the members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Similarly, I heard nothing, no reply, no acknowledgement of receipt. I also sent it in 2015 to the Reverend Dr. William J. Barber, to Henry Louis Gates Jr., and to a number of other important people, Senator Bernie Sanders being among them. No reply, no acknowledgement of receipt. This year, since I revised that plan because of the murder of George Floyd, I sent it to Ben Jealous, president of People for the American Way. I sent it to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I called her office. I was told to email it to a staff member who had the jurisdiction for issues like this. I did so. I never received a reply. I did receive one reply, and that was from Bill Moyers, who in my view, for as long as I can remember, has been the example of what a beautiful, caring American should be all about. He sent me a personal note. He had remembered me from a presentation and interview that he did with Donahue many years ago at the 92nd Street Y in New York City. How he remembered me, I don't know. He called me a kindred spirit 7 or 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, and remembered me and actually wrote me a wonderful note when I sent this plan to him. And basically he told me to keep on keeping on. Well, I am. And I'm calling upon the President and folks that may be listening to this message from me to do whatever they can to consider that national conversations, platitudes, beating of the breast about our racism in this country will not do it. I've been a manager and administrator at high levels in government. A plan will do it, with a vision, with the resources commensurate to its achievement, relentlessly pursued. We can do this. We can measurably reduce racism in our country. It's going to take presidential leadership. It's going to take courage. Thank you.